People say that this SD kit is actually better looking than the high grade version. Let's find out why. How's it going, guys? Plastic Disasta here, and today we are going to do the review of the SD Gundam Cross Silhouette Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex. I already gave some backstory of the Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex, and if you haven't seen the high grade review of this kit, go check it out. Now, as for the SDCS line, it's basically an SD kit that has an inner frame. Actually, two types of inner frames. An SD frame that comes with a bunch of ball joints, and you have the CS frame. Well, not only that has ball joints, but it makes them taller, has elbow bends, knee bends, thigh swivel, shoulder movement. And the funny thing is, usually the CS frame is sold separately, but this kit in particular has both of these inner frames. Jumping right into the review, taking a look at the box art, we have the Lupus Rex looking cute, and we also have the Lupus Rex again looking all angry. Look at this side of the box. It's just showcasing how the Barbatos looks with two types of inner frames. This side you got the SD frame, and the other side you have the cross silhouette frame. Not only it showcases the frame, but it also shows the cool things that this kit can do. And taking a look at this side of the box, we have the front and rear shot of the kit, and on this side of the box is just an advertisement of other SD Barbatos kits. Just a heads up, those three Barbatos kits are not in the same line as this one. But in the box we are greeted with 4 bags of runners and a manual. Starting off with runner A1 is going to be the SD frame. Runner A2 is going to be the cross silhouette frame. B is going to be the multicolored parts, and you got the yellow parts, blue parts, green, and red. It looks like we have hand parts, of course. That's parts for the backpack, head parts, feet, chest, eyes, shoulders, torso. C1 is going to be the white parts, and it looks like you have parts for the big beefy arms. And that's parts for the chest, that's parts for the backpack, those are skirt arbors, and you have runner C2, that is going to be a part of this section. Runner D1 is going to be the gray parts, and notice how the closed fist, the fingers are not in yellow. It's okay, I can always paint it, and it looks like we have parts for the large mace, and those are parts for the eyes, and we have runner D2, that is going to be the part of this section. You have a bendable wire for the tail blade on the backpack. Finally, you have a small sticker sheet. Looking at the cover of the manual right there, we have information of the Barbatos Lupus Rex. Moving on down, of course, I already showed you how it's showcased the SD frame and the CS frame. And right down there, it's just advertisement of other kits in the same line. And inside the manual, we'll be using all the parts, well, except for one little X right there. That about wraps up the unboxing. And so far, it looks really promising. So I'm going to put this kit together and I'll see you guys right after. And here is the inner frame all put together. And the reason why I want to showcase the inner frame first is because for future cross silhouette reviews, I don't want to sound like a broken record or repeating the articulation again. But the only thing I can do is just recap the articulation for future cross silhouette reviews. If you want me to go over the articulation, well, it's going to be in this video. So starting off with the SD inner frame, you got a ball joint right here, ball joint here, ball joint here, ball joint here, and a ball joint on the foot. It's a little tight. And as for a pivot, well, it's actually a really good pivot until you accidentally knock it off. Before I move on to the articulation of the cross silhouette inner frame, both of them share the neck movement, which moves up that far. As for the shoulder, it can extend out and swing forward. And there is a ball joint right here. You get an elbow bend, ball joint on the waist. And as for legs, it can kick that far, move back that far. Well, even though it doesn't have the armor on yet, it might hinder the articulation. And as for the splits, it can move out that far. Thigh swivel, bend at the knee 90 degrees, and as for the foot, it is on a tight ball joint once again. And as for the pivot, really good. That's about it, showcasing the inner frame. And once again, in my future cross silhouette review, I won't go over the articulation again, so this is the review if you want me to go in depth with the inner frame. Yeah, I will go over the rest of the articulation throughout the review. Well, it's just going to be ball joint at the head and ball joint at the waist, and I'll go over the articulation on the backpack. What inner frame I'm going to use? Well, of course I'm going to go with this one, and I'll see you guys right after. And here is the kit all put together, and I have to say, for building experience, it is very simple. And for color separation, well, I have to say, for an SD kit, it's actually pretty well done. And as for proportions, yeah, it does work well in SD form. Even though the color separation engineering is good, there are some areas that might need to be painted in. As for seam line goes, there is one tricky one on the forearms, and there's one little one on the head. I'm not sure either is my copy, I can't quite put it together. As for sticker placement, the eye sticker goes onto the eyes. Well, not those kind of eyes. I'm talking about these kind of eyes. Now, these eyes are for the SD form, but you know, it's Gunpla. You can pick either eye you want. And the other eye sticker goes onto this red piece. The 3 and 4 sticker, they go onto these part of the shoulders. Pay attention which side it goes on. The number 6 sticker, they go onto the knees. And 7 and 8, they go onto the side of the legs. Pay attention which side it goes on. And finally, the number 5 sticker, they go onto the tail blade on both sides. Normally, I would wrap up the unboxing right here, but the thing is, I haven't decided as either I'm going to detail paint this or give it a complete paint job. So throughout this review, it's going to be an out of box. Moving on to accessories for hand options. As you can see, he already has the open palm hands or the Rex nail hands. And next, you have the weapon holding hands. Now, the fingers do need to be painted yellow if you're going to detail paint this. And there's also one problem. There's no hand cover, so if you want to use these hands, you're gonna have to swap them out. Next up, you have the red eyes in case you want the Barbatos Lupus Rex to go crazy, and swapping the eyes out should be relatively easy. Next up, you have this bendable wire for the tail blade. Put the wire in, remove the tail blade, insert the wire, almost similar to the high grade. And there you go. And finally, you have the big mace. And if you look closely, there is another tricky seam line that you're going to have to deal with. Yes, the handle does collapse if you want to store it. And speaking of storing the weapon, you might want to pop up the waist and get this adapter piece and insert it right here into this hole. And plug the mace in. Well, actually, it's more like clipping the mace in. And here's how it looks when it's stored. Now for articulation, I already went over the inner frames articulation. But as for the rest of it, this part of the shoulder can move up and down. This part of the foot right here is on a ball joint, but it moves a little bit. The crotch piece and the front skirt can move in and out. Going back to what I said about the Gundam armor could hinder the upper leg movement, well, let's find out. Moving the front skirt armor up, it can move up, well, not that much because the knee is going to hit the front skirt. Moving to the back, and the back skirt does hinder it. And moving out to the side, and it's still relatively the same. Moving on to the backpack, the tail blade can move up and down. Overall, the articulation, if you are going to use the SD frame, it is what you expect. But if you're going to use the cross silhouette frame, you're going to have more fun. Size comparisons, here he is right next to the SDEX standard Barbatos Gundam. Maybe if I put the Lupus Rex in the SD frame, maybe the scale could work, I don't know. Next, here he is right next to the other cross silhouette kit, the Ground Gundam. And finally, here he is right next to the high grade version of the Lupus Rex. That's about it for size comparisons. Let's move on to my final thoughts. So for my final thoughts of this kit, overall it is a really nice kit. Now, do I agree with everyone's opinions on this kit? Yeah, I do. The proportions does work well in SD form. Now the question is, do I like this kit better than the high grade version? Well, the thing is, they're both really good in their own way. In terms of color separation, I'd go with the SD, but in terms of details, I'd go with the HG. But in the end, it all comes down to your personal preference, because for me, I like both HG kits and SD kits. That about wraps up the review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more SD reviews throughout December. If you have any questions, concerns, comment down below. If you're new here, if you want more of this content, be sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Another Pirate Gundam review? Hey, TFG, you want to give him a friendly reminder?
Pirates plus Gundams equals badass.